Afternoon, everyone. So we're back for another episode of Jesus Wasn't White. We're on a bit of a roll at the moment. I'm going in blind today, people. I've had a good couple of days. Not too much has upset me. How about yourself, Adrian? How you doing?
I'm really good, nothing's upset me either. In fact, it's been a week of inspiration. I've just been inspired, to be fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we're coming off the back of the latest update from Boris Johnson, which was a bit, I don't know. I got the gist of it. I think a lot of people didn't. I kind of think he's basically said common sense. If you can't be safe, then we're gonna come down on you like a ton of bricks. That's how I interpret it. Anyway, I think they've said, look, we need to go back to work. We need to get the country going. Yes, there's a virus. Yes, people are dying. But for God's sake, use your common sense. If you can't use your common sense and there's a spike, then we're going to have to step in. I don't know. Do you think?
So do you think, if you deduce that from what he said the other day, then you're the only person in this great island called Great Britain that's understood a word of what he said, Cal, because no one else has. I mean, is he saying use your common sense? Did he say that? Just use your common sense. He could have just said that.
No, they didn't. He didn't say that, but I think that's what they're implying, isn't it? The whole stay alert thing. The use your common sense is now the term they use is the social distancing, isn't it? That's the common sense part of it. And I understand, look, you don't know if people are carriers or if people are unwell, so try and keep the contact down to a minimum where possible. Everyone wants to look. We're a split nation. We've got people that are staying indoors. We've got people that are going out. People that are just completely breaking the rules and they don't care, or that attitude, or that's never going to happen to me. I won't get sick. I've been sick. I've been sick loads of times. I've got a good immune system. So yeah, it does have to come to common sense. So
that's a weird one for me, Cal, because common sense, you'll find common sense isn't as common as one might think. And everyone's got interpretations of what common sense is. And then common sense becomes common once a group of people do it. So, for example, if a group of people decide to break lockdown and they're fine, and then 100 more join them, and then 100 more, and then a million people do what they do, that becomes surely common sense, doesn't it? So I just don't think that just saying common sense is enough. I think the people, I don't think he's a real leader, but if he is our leader, which he was elected to be, well, not elected, but selected to be, to fill in old Theresa May's boots, then he needs to be a bit more pronounced in common sense. I don't trust people enough to just display this universal common sense.
Well, before we came on air, I actually had the news on and I saw something. It's just literally just popped into my mind. Talk about common sense, talk about attitude and disregard for human life. 2 nurses were spat on in Victoria Station by a guy who then claimed he had COVID. Within 2 days, they're in hospital, and now they're both dead.
Do you think he killed them?
Well, that's what he claimed. He claimed he had COVID, and he spat on these 2 nurses, and they would say they were in hospital themselves within 2 days. And I think it was 2 weeks ago. Now they've passed away, both of them.
So you'll have me believe that there's people going around that know that they were infected with COVID-19, and they're a bit like, alien lizards or aliens actually that can spit acid at you and kill you. This is what you're going to have me to believe?
That's what they're saying, but there are people like that. There's people like that. There's always been reports of people. There's people that know they're HIV positive and have purposely infected people. This is what we've got to live with day to day. You never know, do you? You never know what someone's like.
So
you never know the true.
I was going to say, me and you could be walking down the road, minding our own business, keeping our 2 meter distance, and some mad person comes out of nowhere, spits at you, me and you both, and kill us with their spit. I mean, what are we saying here? Is this real? It's awful if people... First of all, there's a lot of mad people around. Someone like that should be sectioned indefinitely. And maybe if they're going to test a vaccine, that's the kind of people they should be testing it on. Crazy people like that. I mean, if that's true, that is truly awful. and that man's was it a man? He's a murderer.
Yeah.
And he should be locked away for a very long time. It's disgusting. But it's just so strange that we're saying as human beings, we're now able to spit at people and kill them with our spittle, with our phlegm. It's
but it's an airborne virus. It's like any airborne virus. It's always been possible. You've always been able to do it. We've just lived in a society where we haven't had that deadly of airborne virus. It's been this bad, you know. But it's like anything. It's no different from the people throwing acid in people's faces.
But acid, you know what you're throwing. If you're spitting, like you could spit by accident and kill someone, then people could be dying all over the place. I mean, how would they ever start?
Yeah, but you're not going to physically spit at someone, are you?
No,
physically spit on them.
That's disgusting.
You know, but then that comes down to common sense, personal hygiene, cleanliness. Is you don't go around spitting and gobbing on the street and stuff.
Yeah, people do. I mean, they do, don't they? People spit on the street all the time. Are we in danger from people spitting on the streets now?
I wouldn't say we're not in danger of it, but it's just respect, though, isn't it? It's these people just have a disregard for other people's, you know, respecting other people, their feelings and things like that. It's just general cleanliness. Why do we have to tell people to wash their hands? Why is that even a thing?
We don't. I mean, surely you know what really used to piss me off, Cal? And I've seen it a lot. When I go into the gentleman's, and I always wash my hands when I go into the bathroom, and you see people blatantly come out the bathroom, walk past like nothing, and don't even think of washing their hands. And I think, you nasty so-and-so. Like, you're going to go and shake someone's hand or pick up a drink or hold the door handle and you haven't washed your hands. I think people like that are disgusting. And I don't think it should have taken COVID-19 for people to know that we should just wash our hands. I mean, we were told that as children by our parents, wash your hands, wash your hands. What's happened to us? We've become vile.
No respect in the community. That's it. It's
that
simple.
Respect for yourself. I mean, just wash your hands, isn't it?
Yeah, well, of course, it always starts with respect for yourself. If you don't respect yourself, you're never going to respect others. But, mate, you can go out on the fucking streets, and let's be honest, you see 10 people out of 100 that don't respect themselves. You know, the way they conduct themselves in public, the way they act. You know, and I said you judge a book by its cover, but come on, it's pretty obvious when you see these people. But why? What's led to a life like that? Why? You know, but has it ever changed? I always think it's hilarious when I see things online on social media, and you get the lady or the old man, and it's usually a woman. Sorry, but it's true. And they come on, they say, "Oh, you know, it never used to be like this 20, 30 years ago," or they see something about. I always like around my way. It's about kids doing wheelies in the street, and you know, all these gangs of kids going around on bicycles doing wheelies and riding in shops and shit. And it's all like, oh, well, they've got no respect and they don't respect anyone. It never used to be like this. And I'm like, well, it did. You just didn't have Facebook. You just didn't have Facebook to know about it.
That's true.
Social media wasn't there to spread the word. It's so easy to spread the news on social media now. Things we used to do as kids, it's no worse than what they do now. It's just there was no way of anyone finding out about it because there was no camera phones and there was no social media.
Yeah, and I suppose. Sorry, go on.
Go back to generations. Isn't it the generations of kids that change societies? They change cultures. Isn't that what happens? 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. Like when we spoke about the skinheads the other day. The skinhead was a movement which was hijacked, unfortunately. You know, ska, the new romantics. In the 90s, in the 90s you had like the rave scene, and you also had like the early 90s hip hop scene. You know, and then obviously you move on as we moved on, it became like it went to like the jungle scene and then the garage, and then grime was created. Obviously it's all surrounded, culture's generally surrounded by fashion and music, but it's the younger generations that make them changes in culture.
The rave scene actually started in the late 80s
late 80s, yeah,
and continued into the 90s, but it's always been youth culture that has driven what is going to come next. And you know, this is why the youth are the most powerful segment of society, which is why all the laws and all the the things coming in now isn't aimed at the likes of me and you, Cal, because we're a bit old. We are no longer relevant in that respect. But what they're doing is targeting the youth and youth culture, because they are the future. See what I mean?
Yeah, but are they? Is it just us getting older now that you look at the younger generations and you think they're worse? Are they worse? Are things worse? Is there a disregard, a massive disregard for life nowadays around the youth, or is it just that we're seeing and hearing things a lot easier? It's a lot easier spreading the media nowadays.
I'll tell you what, when I was growing up in South London and growing up in Battersea, we was in a lot of gangs and everybody carried a knife, Cal. I mean, certainly that's no different today, whereas literally everyone I knew, most people, not everybody, that's over exaggeration, but you know, it was 5 out of 10 youths I knew would carry a knife, Cal. And and people died, but the difference was that it wasn't many deaths. It wasn't like you hear now. So, you know, a lot of people got stabbed, but you didn't really stab anyone to kill anyone back then. And not that I'm advocating you should be carrying a knife at all. It's disgusting. And I'd be horrified if any of my children did anything of the things I used to do. And I'm so grateful that they don't. But back then, when you did, people would stab someone in their bum or in their leg, you know, just poke them in their leg, you know. It wasn't like for the heart and killing people like there was now. So I think in that respect, the youth definitely have little to no regard for human life, because they will just stab you in your heart over literally nothing. And that never happened in my day, Cal. As far as I know, that never happened. There certainly wasn't many people. I probably knew of 2 people that got stabbed throughout my whole youth. Whereas now, you know, you ask the youth now, they know 10 people that's been stabbed and 3, 4 people that have been killed.
That's sad. You say, like, back then it was when people used knives, they weren't stabbing you 15 times in the abdomen or the chest. You know, like I said, a lot of the time you'd maim someone to give them a scar, so it lasted for them. Yeah,
you wet them, or
you know, you gave them something to remember you by for the rest of their life, because it was obviously more of a scare tactic. So where have we now come to this? What suddenly changed? What's changed? Is it education? Is it discipline? Is it cultural differences from immigration?
I don't know.
Are we now living with culture, more violent cultures? If you look at it, I probably would say yes, because a lot of these people that immigrate to the UK, why do they immigrate here? Because they immigrate from war-torn areas, you know, third world countries, where unfortunately to survive you have to fight. It's kill or be killed in some of them. So, but it's across the border. If you go back to the probably the big influx of Eastern Europeans in the late 90s, early noughties, they were coming from places like Kosovo, Bosnia, who were destroyed by war, you know, and then if you go now, you look at it from the people coming from the Middle East, destroyed by war. You know, they've seen things that we don't see growing up. We don't have to worry about growing up. I never had to grow up worrying about going to the shops and getting a bomb dropped on my head, or I might look a little bit different, so the fucking whoever the corrupt government or terrorist organization that was in control at the moment would kill you or behead you or stone you to death. You know, so is that what we're doing? Is it because we're allowing more violent cultures to live here that they don't know any better? Well, they haven't been educated.
Well, 2 things what you're saying. The first thing I'm going to say is that it's not a culture that is violent, because to talk about cultural violence, then there's none more cultural violent than the English people, because culturally they've been violent all over the world. So I don't think we can say it's to do with culture, because that if I said that to an English person, I'll say that to you. Is it because English people have been cultural violent? I'd expect you to say to me no, because we're not responsible for culture, although culture does. Culture's obviously within us, but there's not a. So, for example, Iranian culture is not violent. There's no culture that is violent. All my friends from Iran, sorry, are the most loveliest, friendliest people you'll ever meet. Like, seriously, beautiful-hearted people. But it's not their culture that's violence. Like you've said the answer and not even realized it. If you're traumatized by getting bombs dropped on your head by whatever regime is dropping bombs on your head, you're not part of that. You're the victim of that. So you are not culturally violent. So it could be, because there's something in what you're saying, Cal. It could be that there's traumatized people that have suffered trauma coming over to the UK. That trauma's never been addressed or dealt with. They're dropped into the middle of wherever, North London, South London, or a village out in Kent or somewhere, and then they're just expected to assimilate. So there's something within that, but you'd have to take it kind of region by region. So, for example, in Black culture, which I've heard racists say, oh, that's a violent culture. I think that's a very dangerous thing to say and very inaccurate because, like I said, I said it on every show so far, Black is not a monolith. So, for example, you take people from Sudan that have come from war-torn countries. Yeah, maybe they've come over and they're desensitized to violence. Because they're desensitized to violence, then violence is not something that they really have to think about. They just do rather than think. But that's to do with their past and what they've been through. But in terms of Black youths killing each other in London, in the city London, that's nothing to do with culture. That's to do with a whole cacophony of different stuff, of different things that have happened. And in terms of white people in Scotland stabbing each other, when they had a really big problem in Glasgow and places in Scotland where they were doing it, I don't think that's to do with culture. That's to do with being poor, being oppressed, feeling that you're nothing, hating yourself, so you stab people that look like you. And I just think that there's a whole range of different reasons. Culture is definitely not one of them. I don't think it could be because of an influx of immigrants, but not because of culture. It's because, and that mixed with us being desensitized to violence anyway, because of social media. We see violence all the time. We see it in games, we see it in TV, we see it in film. The governments are more violent than we are. They will drop a bomb very quickly if they don't like the way someone's spoken to them or addressed them. So I think there's a whole range of different reasons as to why. I just don't think culture as a whole. I don't know if you even meant it like that, but I just don't think culture as a whole is one of those reasons.
Yeah, I get it now. I'd say I think I said culture for maybe the lack of a better word, because
sure,
again, you're always trying to tread on eggshells with trying to get an opinion across without someone screaming at you certain things.
We don't have to do that, though. We don't have to tread on eggshells on our show. It's our show. We can say what we want, and if we get it wrong, in inverted commas, we'll correct each other and try and keep each other right.
It's true, but it's like we say, I'm glad you brought obviously Glasgow into it, because we know that they did have a massive problem. It's still not the greatest. It's a very, very, I mean, it was once, I don't think it is anymore, but it was very close to being the most violent city in the UK, wasn't it? With deaths, killings and violent crimes. I think London would have overtaken it now. But like what I said about, people immigrating, and I don't have a problem with immigration, don't get me wrong, immigration isn't, I don't have an issue with it. If you look at the entire world is created on immigration. Countries are, people that live in the countries didn't come from them countries originally, going back, the whole of America was created on immigration. Israel, Palestine are split because of forced immigration. India, Pakistan are two separate nations. You go back hundreds of thousands of years, the Persians, the Romans, the Vikings, what was Genghis Khan? Who was he? The Mongolians. Yeah, it's all immigration. It's all mixed. So I don't see an issue with immigration, but I do see, like you said, there is an issue with, I think, the people. Does they seem that you allow into the country? I mean, the European being part of the EU was dangerous because it could allow anyone from any country that's in the EU to freely travel and live in said countries. Okay. Now that doesn't mean that I'm talking just about Eastern European countries. There's some really bad people from here that have gone to live in Europe and have done things in Europe.
Especially Spain.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, places like Port of Banús. But do you know what I mean? There's people here that have travelled around Europe to either evade prosecution in the UK, or like I said, or immigrated to these other countries, and that's different. That's why, because we couldn't vet these people. And like I said, when you've got people coming from war-torn countries who have experienced stuff that we've never experienced, you know, like when I was hanging around, or I started to go out on the streets as a 12-year-old, I wasn't scared of any weapons being used because they just weren't. People didn't use weapons. You'd get a hiding, yeah, you get a slap or a kick. Maybe you'd get, you know, you'd be outnumbered, but you just get a beating if you was in a fight. But then we're mixing with people who had to go to the shops or were, you know, they were walking past tanks or rebels with AKs and stuff like that. So is this the reason why weapons have now suddenly become so openly used? Is that why they're being turned to? Because, you know, look, if you're from a country where if you get into a fight, okay, there's a 90% chance the person you're going to have a fight with has carrying a deadly weapon. Okay, so if you're safe from that country, who have suffered a civil war or war of some type, whether it be us or, you know, a neighbouring country, and then you move to a country further, I'd say further west in Europe, because obviously we're generally the ones making the fucking wars. We're the big guys, do you know what I mean? We're the ones doing the bombing and the stuff like that. If you then travel further west, where we've grown up in a more secure society, we haven't had to worry about invasion or religious persecution, you know, or stupid religious laws, or just say that general violence. If you then move to that country and you're genuinely scared for your life, if you have an altercation, you're probably going to turn to what you know, and that's defending yourself with a weapon.
I think that depends on how traumatized you are, because there's plenty of people. Remember, we're talking about the exceptions, not. It's not.
I'm not generalising countries.
No, I know you're not.
I'm talking. It's no different from when I go to America, and I may have a disagreement or something with someone, and my American friends always say, "Could have a gun."
Absolutely.
You know, they could have a gun, and depending on where you are in America, it's usually they could have a gun, and they'll probably fucking use it. You know, road rage. We've had road rage in America. And my friend's like, look at the stickers on the back of their truck. They could have a gun. Don't say anything. You know. And that's America.
Yeah, that's part of their constitutional rights.
Yeah.
But I don't know, because obviously it's not everybody that has this mindset. So, I mean, do you think that if there was no such thing as immigration to the UK, that it'd be a less violent UK?
I don't know, because there's always been violence, and you are right. If you talk about a violent nation, we always have been, and it's always transitioned into different types of subcultures, maybe. So, you know, the football hooligan, that is a culture that's based around violence. Okay, absolutely. But is that just feeding the urge for violence that we've always had, but we've just used it in a different way? So, you know, you only have to go back 120 years and to see how violent London was as a Victorian city, you know. And then even if you go to looking at the riots, Brixton riots, you know, in what was it, 81 Brixton riots, 81,
I think.
81. You look at the force used by police. Yeah, I don't know, but you know, football hooligans weren't killing each other. That's
They
what
weren't. They weren't. But like you said, and I said, I remember that, you know, going to the shops or wherever. The most probably frightening thing that might happen is that you get your head bust open with a K bottle, you know,
Yeah,
or a Diamond White bottle, and you know, many heads got bust, and that was as far as it went. But it's a hard one because I don't personally think it'd be less violence. I just think it'd be a different kind of violence. But then, like I say, is there an example of a country in the world that hasn't been touched by immigration and is still violent? I mean, I think all countries are violent and got there because as humans, we're prone to bouts of violence as humans, as a collective.
Do you know what? Maybe I kind of want to come away from this now, but maybe we should. Let's see if we can get. I know, you know, and I know people, especially I've got friends who fled Iraq in the first Gulf War. I certainly know people who are here more recently from war-torn countries. Maybe we should try and get someone on and just ask for their opinion, because we're two guys who've never lived that.
Absolutely.
You know, what's the biggest danger we face, or what you might go out in the garden at night and see a badger? Do you know what I mean? Like
a badger, that'd be nice. I'd see a fox. Nobody sees a badger. Have you seen a badger in the garden at night?
Not in my garden, I haven't. No.
No, you haven't. No.
I've seen badgers though. They're vicious little bastards.
They are.
But yeah, maybe we should try again. We'll try and get some guests on. We'll try and find someone who can give us an insight into what their childhood was like. You know, living in a war-torn country, or a country that's always at the verge of potential war. You know, we don't have to worry about it. Yeah, we have the stupid odd scare where someone turns around and, you know, North Korea and America have a bit of a set too. But let's be honest, in the real world, it's not going to affect us. Even if they went to war, it's still not going to affect us.
That's true.
You know, we're too powerful of a nation. We've got, you know, our army's too technologically advanced and strong to worry about certain things like that. You know. You're never going to suffer a missile attack living in the UK. It's just never going to happen. You know, you look at we've got bases all around Europe. All of the Americans have got bases all around the world. It's just something we don't have to worry about. We're never going to have anyone knocking at our door. Never. You know, even if we went to war with China, how far is China? How many thousands of miles is China away? You know, we'd know before they launched their own planes before they did. If they was going to try and bomb us, we'd know about it. We'd know about it. You'd see it.
But some people are saying the coronavirus could be a war, and the new wars aren't going to be fought with long-range missiles. They're going to be fought with, bacterias and germ warfare, silent weapons for quiet wars, and all of that stuff. So, you know, which is a more intelligent and more brutal and a more sneaky way to fight a battle, but more effective as well, to be fair.
But I don't think them wars would be done by nations. I think them wars would be done by corporations trying to take.
Well, corporations control nations, don't they? I mean, we know that corporations definitely control nations, and you know, some people say one of the biggest corporations in the world is called the United States of America. You know, which is not actually a nation, but is a corporation. Corporations are bigger than countries. You know, what's bigger than Mark Zuckerberg's Facebook or YouTube or, you know, Microsoft. These corporations, I mean, nations are built off of people, and people can be bought and corrupted. So, you know, if nations were an entity that existed unto them itself, then yeah, we could say great nations. But anything made up of people, countries are made up of people, and there's corporations much more powerful than the majority of countries.
What you're missing is that a lot of these countries' political members own these corporations.
Exactly.
There's so many cases. I'm not going to go into it because I'm probably wrong. I don't know off the top of my head. I mean, I need to research it, but there's certainly links between, the invasion of Iraq and George Bush and his friends being able to build an oil line through Iraq.
Absolutely.
There's links to, so obviously Theresa May's husband owns bloody G4S. Funny how G4S got all the contracts, government contracts, when Theresa May became Prime Minister.
These people keep it in the family, Cal. They keep it within their bloodlines. They keep it in the family, and you know, if you were them, you'd do it too, because it makes sense. Why would you be benevolent and why would you want to care about people when it's all about power and wealth, and the corporations have so much money, they've got ways of tax dodging, and there's loopholes, and you know, they've got countries on their knees, corporations completely on their knees.
So do you ever think we'd live in a world split by corporations? Like you could live in like an Apple neighborhood, which was controlled by, you know, no, but what I'm talking about is, you know, like private security firms, police forces being owned by these corporations, like say like you had like the Coca-Cola police, you know, you lived in
what would they do? What would their job role be?
No, but that's what I'm trying to say is that could be how the world could be split up. You could live in a neighborhood which was under control predominantly by a corporation because of how much money they have.
We do. We already have that. They just dress it up so that we don't know exactly what it is. But I think we're already owned by corporations and living with corporation police, and because they enforce the rules, don't they? You know, try and go into the Coca-Cola building without an invite, and the Coca-Cola police will be all over you. You know, so I think they already do
I've been in the Coca-Cola building actually.
Where is it?
There's one in Uxbridge, two in Uxbridge actually.
I've seen it. I've driven past it. What's in there? Just Coca-Cola everywhere. Is it just what's in there? Why would you go to
offices? Mainly office blocks, and I think one of them's a big factory. So yeah, mainly office blocks. There was a Coca-Cola head office in just off of Uxbridge High Street. I'm not sure if it's there anymore. Everything was free vending, but you couldn't take it off the premises, and it was classed as stealing.
Do you drink Coca-Cola?
Do I? No.
Yeah. Neither do I.
I think, if anything, my guilty pleasures and my treats are like fizzy drinks, but I only drink sugar-free caffeine ones now. I don't drink any of the full-fat ones. I
think that's wasted. I lied actually. I drink Coca-Cola maybe once a year when I'm on holiday in a hot country, and I get this sudden urge for this Coca-Cola with lemon. And so once a year when I'm in a hot country, I will have Coca-Cola with a slice of lemon, and it's one of the best things ever. Just once a year.
There's certain things, like I said, there's certain things. If I go to a pie and mash house, I always have a cup of tea and a fizzy drink. And it's usually Coke or Pepsi. I don't know why, I'd always have a cup of tea and a fizzy drink when I go to a pie and mash house. It's strange.
I suppose there's nostalgia and there's things that we gravitate. It's always weird the way we remember certain things and do certain things, and then the majority of things that you just forget. Like, I've been having the weirdest dreams recently, and when I say weird, my dreams are always weird anyway. I don't know what is in my head. I don't know what infuses these visions, night visions.
It's all those marijuanas you smoke.
It's actually not, because I tell you what marijuana does, it suppresses your dreams. If I'm not smoking weed, my dreams are off the Richter scale, like literally lucid, off the Richter scale dreams. And weed actually does the opposite. It suppresses your dreams. So I know you don't smoke. Your dreams, although there's people that just don't dream, but my dreams are so weird. But if you asked me to retell you any of my dreams, I'd have a very hard time doing it.
Really?
Yeah, I just don't remember what I dreamt, even though I can remember, but I don't know how to speak it. It's all scrambled up in my head. It's just weirdness.
I have weird dreams. Really weird dreams. Some are quite traumatic and emotional because it's a lot of memories come back. But yeah, I do have some really strange dreams. But like I said, I could remember them there and then in the morning, but as the day progresses, I would lose all recollection of. I'm
losing recollection of them as soon as I open my eyes. As soon as I open my eyes, it's already going. I I can't tell you exactly what that dream was. I can't retell it, you know. It's like taking psychedelics. When you come out of that psychedelic state, it's very hard for you to recount what it is you've just
What
been
happened?
through and what you've experienced.
I suffer sleep paralysis quite a lot.
Well, what's that when you're locked in your sleep, or what does that mean?
When you bait, you can't move, so you're
Oh,
awake.
I've had that happen.
But I have it quite I say quite often. It's probably maybe only once a year. But sometimes I think I went 2 years without having it. But I had it quite a few times, and that's a horrible one because you can't breathe or nothing. Yeah, it's horrible.
That's weird.
Because it feels like I said, you're trying to breathe, but you can't. You just can't move, and then you'll suddenly kick out of it. You take this massive breath, but that's horrible because it's like I say, your brain's awake, and your brain's like shit.
You know, the weirdest one. No, go on. Sorry.
No, I was saying it's just I suffer that. I do suffer that quite a lot, but only when I'm on my own. Only when I'm on my own.
Not when you're getting your back rubbed.
No. No. Only when I'm in a bed on my own. Never when I'm sharing it with a partner.
Okay.
Right.
The weirdest one is when you're falling in your dreams, and it doesn't happen to me as much, but I've actually woken up gripping my bed.
Happened to me 2 days ago.
Did it?
2 days ago, and I slapped my bedside table because I went to put my hand down to stop me falling, and I whacked it right on the top, and everything went everywhere. Yeah,
wow.
Happened to me literally 2 days ago. I have that a lot. I used to have a dream, okay, when I was younger, and I was unwell. So if I was going to be sick in the night, I used to have a dream that I was trying to climb a pyramid of tires, and no matter how much I tried, I could never get past the first few, and then I'd wake up and I'd be sick.
That's weird. I've got there's one dream. I remember my first ever dream. Although I think it was my first ever dream, because if it wasn't, then I don't remember. But the first dream I ever remember was I was about 6 or 7 years old, and I was running with my nursery teacher, Miss Douglas, and she was leading us kids through the darkness, pitch black, and we were running from something chasing us. And I'll never forget, there was a ladder that came up in the blackness. There was a ladder, and it actually led to a hole which you could climb through to what I imagine was safety. And I never forget that the gap opened up and all the kids ran through, and as I went to run through, they closed the hole on me, the manhole on me, and I was left to be consumed by the darkness. And then I woke up very quickly. So I remember that. And another strange dream I remember was with the mother of my first 2 children. And we used to work for the Australian Wine Club, so I'm a bit of a self-confessed wine connoisseur. I was there for about a year. I was selling wine, vintage wine, all kinds of wine. And there was a guy there who, you got those bosses at work that you never meet. He's like high up, and maybe he lives in Australia, but I never forget his name, even though I don't remember what he looks like. His name was Stuart Barclay. And in this dream, the mother of my first 2 children, she gave my tinned peaches to Stuart Barclay, my can of tinned peaches, a big one. She gave it to Stuart Barclay, and I was so angry that I woke up and I kicked her in real life. I gave her one kick in her leg and then went back to sleep. And then a few hours later, I woke up and I said to her, did I kick you? She goes, yeah, you did. And I said, you gave my fruit to Stuart Barclay. And I don't know why. What the hell is that about? But yeah, that really happened. So
that's like when the woman has a dream you cheated on her and she stays angry with you for a week afterwards.
Oh my gosh!
Like it happened in your dream, not in real life. Like,
yeah,
why are you being angry with me? So with dreams, do you believe? Obviously, I know you're quite spiritual as a person.
As opposed to religious.
Yes, as opposed to religious. You are spiritual though. I know you're very spiritual.
Very, very spiritual.
Afterlife. What are your views on the afterlife? I don't think we've ever spoke about this, have we? Ever?
We haven't, but it's a good question. And according to the Bible, and I have to go back to the blueprint of life for me, which for me is the Bible. According to the Bible, once the world is destroyed and the wicked are cleansed of the earth, Cal, don't know if you're going to make it, my friend, I'll be honest. But once the wicked are cleansed of the earth and the 144,000 that are ordained to come back to the earth, I'd like to be in that number. So based on the Bible, I believe that my thing is this: how can we be born just to die, Cal? And also talking about spirit, I think the flesh dies. Obviously, the flesh dies, but spirit lives on. And I'll give you one more thing before you come back in. My nan passed away last year, and I wasn't there when she actually took her final breath. I was there about half an hour later, and we proceeded to spend the next 5-6 hours before they came and took her away in the bag and everything. And we was all there, and everyone was upset, of course, and my dad and my cousins, my aunt, everybody was there. And I felt my nan's spirit. It was so beautiful. She was in that room. It was so light, and it was like being on a trip where I felt her and I saw her, and she was so happy, and she just went across her bedroom. So for me personally, that's energy. And if you take electricity, you work with electrics, correct me if I'm wrong, but electric energy doesn't die. You just redirect it, don't you, Cal? You just you using. I don't know much about electricity, but I know that the energy doesn't die. It just gets redirected, and you can put different copper points and whatever. So for me, I think the flesh dies, Cal. The flesh does die, but I don't believe our spirit dies.
So would you say that obviously the body's just an organic vessel for the energy, which is the soul, the spirit?
Well, it must be, because we are not our bodies. This is why a person can be in their 80s and feel like they're in their 40s. Because if you felt like your body was, then that comes down to your mental state. If you feel like, you could feel like an old man now. Right now, you could feel like you're 80 years old, because it's not connected to your actual body. Your spirit is connected to all kinds of other things. So, yeah, I do believe that. I believe that we are not our bodies. I believe we are spirit, and our bodies are just a vehicle. Just like Damian Marley said, our vehicle is just a transportation carrying the soul, just a vessel.
So do you think that I agree so much with the energies and the spirits, and I believe that energy can be absorbed into our surroundings, and they do say that a lot of so-called hauntings are that. It's just the energy of the environment and the energy reliving past experiences. That's the noises you hear or the things you see are, it's the energies, it's the spirits locked into that surrounding. But do you believe that there's actually a physical being? There's that you can live in the afterlife, or is your energy just trapped in a place where you spent a lot of time, or a place that you cared about? Like your spirit might go back to a happy moment in your life and stay there, or do you actually believe that you can be in the afterlife and you can pick and choose and you can do what you want?
In my creative moments, which I have many, I've imagined that as soon as you die, I'm like, oh my gosh, Cal, what are you doing here? And you're like, wow, that was fun being Cal. I didn't know it would end like that. Yeah, but wow, going back to Earth is really boring, and where we are now is amazing. But we have free will. Do you choose to go back again and be somebody else? That was really fun. I mean, I lived for 100 years, but it felt like 5 minutes. Now I'm back, Yeah, and I'd imagine, is it like that? Is it that we choose and be like, okay, I'm going to be that person born to those people. I'm going to be poor today. I'm going to be disabled, or I'm going to be that. I don't know, because then if you are that, then are we then evil? If you choose to be Hitler, if you choose to come back as Hitler, why would you choose that?
But do you choose that though? Is it a choice?
Yeah, maybe it's chosen for you. Yeah, maybe it's chosen for us. But then to do that, we've got to kind of believe in a higher being that allows us to do these things. I don't think we just have free reign to just pick and choose. I don't know. It's very complicated, and I really don't know. It's a hard one. Are you asking if people are reborn so that there's some people that have been on the earth?
No,
before?
not reborn. I mean, as in, look, like I said, we've all walked into somewhere that's had a traumatic event take place. Okay, whether it be a fight, a murder, an argument. When you walk into a room that someone's just had an argument in, and that atmosphere is off, because
Absolutely.
their energy is
The
bad.
energy, yeah.
Okay, so now if you have a building which has only ever seen negative energy, then that energy sticks to that building. It will always be negative for you. No matter who goes in there, it will always be negative. It could change, but it would have to change a lot of positive energy over a prolonged amount of time. Okay, so this is what I when I talk about hauntings, that's what I believe. You know, like the library's haunted. For me, the library's probably haunted because the energy of the old lady librarian who used to love her job loves being there. That's her. She's stuck. She's not so much stuck there, but that's where when her physical, her biological body gave up and passed, her energy, her spiritual energy attached to there because that's where it spent most of its time. That's
Yeah,
like
but
its
why?
happy place.
But why? If you're happy, why are you making moaning sounds in the middle in the midnight hour? You know, if you're
No, but that's what I'm trying to, because again, that's the difference between is that just the energy stored within the walls of the building replaying random moments that have happened, okay, and it's no relevance to us being there or whether they're trying to get our attention, or do you actually believe that there could physically be, you could have free will as a spirit and you could be there, and then you could be lonely. Imagine being a spirit trapped somewhere and you're conscious. That's what I'm trying to say. Are ghosts conscious? Do they understand their surroundings?
No, I don't think so. I don't think they do, but I think it'd be pretty sad to be stuck anywhere. I mean, after a while, you need something else. And I think if you are stuck somewhere as a spirit, then there's something you need to do so that you can move on from that place. Because I don't believe anybody deserves, well, not that they deserve, because some people deserve everything they get. But I don't think it'd be the happiest place. I don't think you've done the best things in your life or it could be something tragic has happened to you. Like, you know, when they say like this poor kid was murdered horribly and really tragically, and so the spirit of that child cannot move on until either they're revenged. There've been many Hollywood movies about such topics and themes, you know. Absolutely. So they need that closure. So I think if there are ghosts, which I believe ghosts exist, because aren't ghosts just frequencies? You're a dog owner. Isn't your dog able to tune into a different frequency, like turning on the radio from FM to AM?
I've got videos of my dog refusing to walk into a certain room in my house and growling at barking something that's in there. And I actually I sat there and watched it and filmed it all. And then I went in there and he still wouldn't come in. And it took me about 10 minutes to get him to come in. And then he was still weary of something happening in that room.
Wow.
I actually have that on. I have filmed it. You know, I believe I'm quite broad-minded when it comes to spirits and the afterlife, and I believe that yes, you know, I am. We do have very much similar beliefs when it comes to spirituality, and I do believe in energies, and I do believe that buildings and environments can keep an energy. They can absorb it. I've been to places, like you said, you go to castles or just things where not always tragic events, but major events have happened, and you just get a vibe. But I do also believe that in certain circumstances, spirits are aware and they're conscious because of. It's only coming from my own experience of what I've seen and what I've done and what I've looked into it. But you also have to be very cautious of the mind. We still don't understand our own brains.
But also, there's people that walk around with spirits all over them. And actually, we leave the spirit for each other. So, for example, if you spoke to me, Cal, and every time you spoke to me, I was negative and I brought you down. And every time you came off the phone to me, you felt, oh my gosh, that was draining. Eventually, you know, someone would say to you, Cal, are you all right?
Always negative,
You're always negative. You're not yourself. And you could be like, wow, you know, every time I speak to Adrian, I come off the phone and I'm not myself. And I'm now taking your spirit. Mm-hmm. So spirit is something which is very real and this is why I believe after we don't die. Because if your spirit can remain, then, and your spirit remains in one shape or form, then I believe that we're always here, we're always alive. You know, it's like I believe my little baby boy chose us as parents. We didn't choose him. He wanted to be born in this time. So, you know, I think his spirit was definitely here before his physical was here a year and a bit ago, you know. So it's a strange one. And with ghosts, I've never been really afraid of ghosts. I don't think I've seen a ghost, but I've felt things, you know. And I just think that there's spirits on everybody, and we all have spirits, whether it's good or bad spirits, and it's the spirits of other people. You see some people and they're just, you can see their spirits all over them just by the way they're acting and their position, you know what I mean? Disposition, sorry. So yeah, I think that there's a lot of people that they're not spiritual, but they've got spirits all over them. So they should be spiritual and get in touch with those spirits. Know yourself, then you'll know your spirit of yourself, you know. In the Muslim world, they call it jinn. You know, there's a lot of jinn around, and you've got bad jinns and good jinns, and they guide us sometimes to do really heinous things or good things, great things.
They're all bad if you drink a litre of it, I'll tell you that.
Well, gin. Well, you know, gin turns people into raving lunatics. So yeah, you're right about that. Well, not actually gin, vodka.
Brewed for incurable sadness. I
like gin. I don't drink a lot, but I do. I've had a gin or two, and I've actually had a few more drinks. And when I say a few more, lockdown, say so 40 days of lockdown in my timeline that I'm doing my videos in, I'll probably had a drink 6 times, and that's a lot for me because I never drank a drop of alcohol for like 4 months before lockdown. So I think people are drinking more, and if I'm anything to go by, people are drinking a little bit more during lockdown.
I think me and you have only drunk in the 6-7 years that we've known each other. We've only drunk twice, maybe.
Yeah, we don't.
Mainly because we're always working, but we very rarely would go to. We went to. We've been to the pub, but yeah, maybe a couple of times.
Not much.
But I'm not a big drinker as much as I used to be. Not as I used to be, but I like say going back to you're saying you haven't seen a ghost. I'm always open-minded, and I am skeptical because I do believe in everything there is a scientific reason for a lot of stuff. People tell you things have happened, and it's silly little things. You know, you hear the noises, the creaks in your houses. It's like my house is haunted. No, it's your fucking heating pipes weren't clipped in properly, and they hit on the floorboards. Do you know what I mean? And stuff like that. But like I've interacted with a ghost or something. I've seen it. I've seen many. I've witnessed it with other people with me who can, corroborate the story, back it up. I've interacted with them. I've had things. I've asked for stuff to happen and seen it done. So that's from my point of view. I do believe that there's a certain consciousness that can happen. In the afterlife that maybe you are not. Like you said, your physical body ends, but your soul, your spirit can continue to live on this plane. And maybe you have the choice of going to somewhere else, go into what we might class as heaven. But then, heaven could just be your own environment, I suppose.
It could be a state of mind,
Yeah.
Going to heaven. I mean, I believe in heaven.
Google. So anyone doesn't know, obviously I'm very much. I am into spirits. I have. I've been to spiritual churches and stuff, and seen things, done things, and I am very much big into investigating. I am like that with all mythical creatures, and if you gave me the chance to go look for Bigfoot, I'd go look for Bigfoot and stuff like that. But I mentioned something to Adrian probably about a year ago now, and I still want to do it. And if you've never seen it before, look up the Black Monk House in Pontefract. It's called not because the monk was black, it's because it's a black figure. It's a black mask. It's not like there was a black monk haunting the place, but it's called the Black Monk House Pontefract. And me and Adrian have obviously made documentaries. As you know, Adrian's has a production company. He's a writer, and he's a semi decent cameraman. He knows his stuff. He knows where to point. He knows where to point the lens.
Yeah.
I want to spend 2 nights in that house with just me, my friend, and Adrian. Okay, because I don't want to go in there with any sort of we're a ghost hunting company. I don't want to go in there with any special equipment. I want to go in there with us, a camera each, and as many GoPros as we can set up as possible. And we live there, just live there for 2, like this, lockdown isolation, 2 days, 2 nights. We sleep, we breakfast, we lunch, we do whatever you want to do, work out, bath, brush your teeth, shower, and we just live there. And we record everything. Cameras rolling 24/7 for the entire time we are there. And we can sleep in separate rooms, or we can sleep in the same room. And we just live it. We go in there with an open mind as filmmakers. I believe, Adrian, you're 100. You're not 100%. Like you said, you believe in the spiritual side of it, but not sure if actual like conscious ghosts exist. And I just think it would be. It's an experiment, because we might have 3 days of nothing.
But this is what I don't get. What? I don't know, Cal. I'll be honest, yeah. Black people aren't really into going into haunted places to see if it's haunted. I'd rather the white people go first and say, who's there, to the wind.
But that's why I asked you. That's why I have to have you, because you are always being the level head on my shoulders.
Not in a haunted house, I wouldn't be.
But I need that. But that's why
I'd just be a head without shoulders.
That's why. This is why you have to be there, and it will make great viewing.
For who? For you and your friends, and maybe to laugh at me. And then I'll become the black monk.
Do you think I'm not scared? Do you think I'm not scared?
You don't sound scared. You don't sound scared. I'm scared.
I'm not scared of the idea of it, but I'm not 100% looking forward to sleeping in a bedroom on my own.
I don't want to be going to no haunted house in a place called Pontefract in Wales and look for this black monk.
As a filmmaker, you're doing it. You're doing it as a filmmaker, Adrian.
I'm not. Yeah, but it's not. What am I going to get out of it? Even if what am I going to see? I'm not going to see
life experience. You don't know. That's what I'm saying. We don't know. Who knows? We do not know. There is so much video evidence.
Who wants to know?
We do.
I don't. You do.
I want to know. People want to see. They want to see 3 normal people in there for none of this bullshit, none of this fucking graphics. This is an entertainment program. This is just a straight up 3 days, cameras rolling.
3? I thought it was 2 days.
2 nights.
It sounds like the days are going up.
2 nights. So 2 nights. 2 nights. I can hire the house. I've spoke to the people. They'll let you do it. Just 2 nights, 2 days, 2 nights, and obviously the morning after.
I think it's a bit.
If you can't survive the first night, we'll go, or you can go.
It's a bit weird. I'm waiting to be killed.
But you're only worried because I've told you. What if I just told you we was doing what's it called program? Oh, fucking hell.
A wildlife.
Like a Big Brother program.
I don't like Big Brother, and plus you'd be luring me there under false pretenses.
But you wouldn't be scared. That's what I'm trying to say.
I'd be more scared of Big Brother than I would of Haunted House.
So now is it your brain's taking over? You wouldn't be worried.
Yeah, it is, and I'm allowing it to, because I don't have no love for going into a house to see if it's haunted. It's not the kind of thing I need to do in my life, or I look forward to as a filmmaker, as a human being. As a black man, I don't need to be in a haunted house. And you know what happens if there's any killings to be?
Is it in Hollywood?
I'll be killed first. You'll make it out with a leg. You'll have 1 leg maybe, but you'll make it out. Me, I'll be ghost meat.
Isn't a Weinstein movie where the black guy dies in the first 10 minutes?
Was that old Harvey?
Yeah. Well, he made everything,
And
didn't he? Any film in the
thought we
last
liked
20
that.
years has been made by him.
Yeah, they did.
So-
Have you seen how much people have thanked him in their Hollywood speeches?
What, recently or previously?
Oh, not recently. I
I
mean,
was
come
gonna
on.
say. Oh yeah.
You can't mention his name, but over the years, everyone that loved him and called him God and said he was amazing, and you know, it makes me really skeptical of these people, because did they not know? And a lot of women did it as well.
No, it just means it's just the points the points people will go to for stardom. Do you know what I mean? That's what
So
it is.
this whole Me Too movement, and this, I think there's a lot of hypocrisy about it, because a lot of the people that are now calling him out were the same people that were loving him and couldn't praise him enough. And you know, at some point you have to think, well, did they know what was going on and when they were complicit? And if they are, what hypocrites now to be crying about how evil and what kind of a predator he is, because a lot of these people signed up for it. I'm not saying everybody, because that'd be wrong. It's definitely not everybody, but even those that knew what was going on seem to condone it and not say much.
Yeah,
so
they got their fucking fame and fortune now, haven't they? That's why. So they got their fame and fortune. They got their big break in the movies out of it, and now the bandwagon has moved. They're jumping on something else. You know, do you know what I mean? Now you can come out. You know, now you can come out and tell the truth, because you're not going to get slapped down, or you're not going to have your career taken away from you. Too scared. That's the thing. The priorities were becoming famous and becoming a Hollywood A-lister. So anything goes. Now that they've got that, and they're not going to lose it by telling the truth about Harvey Weinstein, they come out and say it. When they said they haven't got the guts to come out and fucking say it when they should have. Like Johnny Rotten did about Jimmy Savile on a BBC interview. He didn't give a shit. He came out, told the truth. And guess who wasn't allowed on the BBC for fucking 5 years or whatever it was after that? Johnny Rotten.
So the BBC protected the likes of Jimmy Savile, which is a rhetoric question. I'm making a statement, I'm not asking a question, because I know these corporations protect the elite and friends of the elite. So definitely these corporations have more power than anyone else, because how can you be banned for telling the truth, man? It's just like Facebook and what Facebook and YouTube are doing. Nothing's changed. Nothing's changed.
People like Jimmy Savile has known about it for years. My old man used to tell me, he never used to go into depth, but I remember him telling me stories about going to the Top of the Pops recordings and telling me all the things that used to go on and they used to see and stuff. It's rife. It's rife. It's a lot more rife than you'll ever know, mate. You'll ever know.
Why do we as a society condone paedophilia? Now, we say we don't. On the surface, we don't. On the surface, of course, you ask anybody, and I don't think anyone in their right mind will say that paedophilia is anything but evil, depraved, warped, heinous. It's one of the heinous things, I believed, one of the most heinous crimes known to man. But why do we, as a society, you spoke about society the other day, and proud to be British and all of that. This is a stain on not just Britain, but a lot of the world. But why do Britain, especially among the elite, why do they condone these things? Why is it a thing to have rent boys and in the upper circles, upper echelons of society? What is that about?
I don't know, mate. I can't give you an answer. Like you said, is it because the people who get away with it? I wouldn't say it's condoned. It's like anything. Look at the conviction rates, or look at the class of the people that are convicted for it. I bet you 99% of paedophiles that are convicted are middle to lower class. I bet you none of the upper class. None of the upper class sex offenders get prosecuted, but the lower class sex offenders get prosecuted. None of the blue collar drug dealers are getting put away, but the kids that live on fucking council estates trying to make a living are getting put away.
That's true. So it's class, isn't it?
Because the class system is no different from how you would be at work. Top boys in charge, and does little. The boss does the least work and gets away with the most shit.
Yeah,
it's it, mate. It's that fucking simple. They've got the most money, they've got the most influence, they've got friends in higher places, and they're all friends in higher places. You know, to become a judge, no one like me or you could ever become a judge because it's not in our blood.
Yeah.
You know, you have to be born into it, and that's why they get away with it, because they're all linked. And like you said, they turn a blind eye to it because of the benefits that they get out of it. I suppose it's no difference from bribery, isn't it?
Yeah,
you know?
It's like that whole.
If a judge is friends with someone who's a giant property mogul, I don't know, or gets a backhander, or gets a fucking free house out of it, or this or that, or gets their life sorted, then they're going to turn blind eye to it because it's selfishness. We're selfish. Humans are selfish. We don't give a shit about anything or anyone else, as much as we try and pretend we do. And funny enough, it was actually Anthony LaVey who said that in the Satanic Bible, that acts of kindness has nothing to do with you being kind. It's because you do it to make yourself feel better, because you're fucking selfish. We are selfish. We're killing everything around us. It's a bigger thing than just sexual assault and paedophilia and everything else. It's everything. We kill everything. We don't care. No one gives a shit. They like to pretend. Oh, don't kill the poor foxes. They wouldn't give a fuck if the foxes died out. They wouldn't care. They wouldn't know, would they? What are they going to do? They wouldn't give a shit. You telling me all these people that say stupid stuff about, oh, don't kill the poor foxes. What, you telling me that if the foxes died out, they're going to redirect and invest all their money into fucking breeding foxes again? Fuck off, are they? They're going to want to pay their mortgage off and own their nice car and go to the Barbados. You know, it's selfishness, mate, and it's across the board. Like I say, it's from top to bottom. It's just, unfortunately, there's different structures of it. You know? And like I said, paedophilia is probably is the worst, because you are, no matter what way you look at it, you're taking an advantage of a human being who can't defend themselves.
Did you watch the Corey Feldman documentary?
I haven't seen it yet. Have you seen it?
Yeah, I watched it.
Where did you watch it?
I watched it online, YouTube. He was upset about that, old Corey was. But YouTube
it crashed, didn't it? They reckon it was
then YouTube, it was hacked. But then YouTube put it online, and it's funny because I've grown up my whole life watching Corey Feldman, because I'm just a little bit younger than him, or a few years younger than him, and he was always like one of my favorite characters in terms of favorite actors growing up.
Me too,
in the Goonies and Stand By Me and the Lost Boys, and these great films that defined part of my childhood, certainly. And then, you know, him and Corey Haim and what happened, and these guys were messed up. But did you hear about the revelation when he claimed that it was Charlie Sheen, a 19-year-old Charlie Sheen raped Corey Haim on the set of
in between two trailers?
What do you think of that?
It's difficult for me when it first. So I've known that one of the main abusers was meant to have been Charlie Sheen for a long time. Like I said, it's like news. If you look for it, you know it's out there. It's R. Kelly. I was told about R. Kelly in 1997. You know, someone told me about what he was up to in the 90s.
But Charlie, old R. Kelly, he sang about some strange stuff when you listen back to his great music, but warped messages. Whereas Charlie Sheen, I watched Wall Street the other night, which is an excellent film. And I've always liked Charlie Sheen because he's in one of my films that I modelled myself on, me and my friends, which was Young Guns. Mm-hmm. And then he was in Platoon, which was the soundtrack. Not only a great film, but a great soundtrack and great characters, great everything. Oliver Stone film. And I watched him in Wall Street, another Oliver Stone film, a few nights ago. Me and my missus and I, and I watched it and I was enjoying it. And I thought, did he do that? Because if he did, that was 2 years before that movie. And I thought, how disgusting. And I just don't know. Obviously, I will never know if it's true or not. Why would Corey Feldman say if it wasn't true? And also, Charlie Sheen's a weirdo. He's completely insane, and he looks like he's suffering with a lot of demons, and he has done for a long while. The two and a half men thing, the tiger blood thing. He had AIDS, the women. What's her name? Denise Richards, and all of that. So I don't know. I mean, obviously, I'll never know the truth, but I just think we know Corey Haim was messed up. We know Hollywood ignored how messed up he was, and they seem to You know how many child actors have died?
Oh, fucking hell, yeah.
It's insane.
River Phoenix.
All on drugs, all messed up. Shirley Temple, what's the one that was in The Wizard of Oz? Judy Garland, Liza Minnelli's mum. All these child actors were messed up, and it seems like paedophilia is a lot of to do with it. But I just can't imagine a 19-year-old Charlie Sheen raping a 13-year-old Corey Haim. I mean, how does that even? And why doesn't someone speak up about it? I mean, other than Corey Feldman, who is, but you know what they're saying. Because Corey Haim's mother's being paid off.
At the time, like I said, at the time when that happened, okay, and obviously even moving forward, you got to remember it might not have been something Corey Haim could have opened up with straight away. You know, he might have had to get the courage, but Charlie Sheen just went from strength to strength.
Yeah, but his career fell off a long time ago. I mean, I know.
Yeah, but not in the 80s. It fell off in the 90s, but not in the 80s. He was one of the most. And then he's got, he's got a family. Martin Sheen, Charlie Sheen, and obviously Emilio Estevez.
Well, Martin Sheen seems such a good human being. All I'm trying to say is the power side of it. How powerful that family would have been in Hollywood in the 80s. I just think that's what you could have put a stop to it. It's horrible, and I want these truths to come out. And I'm not saying Charlie Sheen did it. I
don't think there's no reason for. So he's named 3 accusers, hasn't he? Because have you read Corey Feldman's book?
I haven't read his book. No.
Okay, so it's in the book. This is where before the film came out, it's in the book. So one of them was like his manager, who basically lived with him. Another one was an actor who was in a film with him, and then obviously there was Charlie Sheen. So why? Like I said, if it was a lie, why would you just pick Charlie Sheen? He must something must have really happened for him to hate him if he was going to make up something like that.
That's true.
So I don't see why it would be fabricated. It would be a lie. So, but hey ho. Right, we're gonna have to wrap up because I've got visitors and dogs going crazy, and I'm gonna have to sort it all out.
That's a good reason to wrap up.
We're gonna have to shoot on that. No, I've got these going mental, and it's gonna go so sort them out. Right, guys, I hope you've enjoyed that one. This is obviously Jesus Wasn't White. We will be back. Please keep listening, liking, sharing. You're doing great at the moment with everything. Like I said,
tell them we're on Instagram and everything. Tell them.
Yeah, we're on Instagram, Jesus Wasn't White podcast. Give us a like. We'll be going on to Twitter soon. And then hopefully by the end of this week, we should be live on other platforms. We'll let you know.
And remember, guys, Jesus wasn't white.
Jesus definitely wasn't white. And that's goodbye from me. And I'll see you later. See you later, mate.
Peace.